Oh, that's right. We were going to change that, weren't we?
Uh,
Oh, well, that's for another time. Hi there, everybody. Yes, it's your good friend Pozzible here, and I'm here with Joe.
how's it going?
We are here today to bring up one of our favorite discussions, and that is the state of the movies, or in this case, the state of the superhero movies. Big topic.
I don't know. Are they still superhero? A lot of times in comics nowadays, they call them metahumans. Should we change it to metahumans?
Oh, not yet. It's
Okay.
too soon to make that change. Wait, who's doing that? Is that mostly DC or is that Marvel also?
I'm not. I don't know if Marvel's. I know I've
Yeah.
seen it a lot in DC. I'm not sure if Marvel's still they're going into it or not.
I know Marvel and DC, they both actually they have the copyright or the trademark the word superhero. Technically, they are the only ones who can use it. However, I don't think they've really gone after anybody who has used the word.
Good, because we used it a couple times.
Yeah, they're coming after me,
yes.
boy. Where's Possible? He's in jail. That's where I am.
All right. Well, I'll be announcing welcome to the Joe Chateau.
There you go. Joe's taking over. You know, hostile. This will be a new version of a hostile takeover. But the one reason I wanted to bring up the state of superhero movies, as you know, superhero movies are now the staple. We are in what I would call the golden age of superhero movies, because basically they are, you know, they're big money makers. They're always going to make at least $100 million, even if they're really, really terrible. They have a huge fan base. They have huge anticipation. Of course, when they let you down, that's pretty huge too. Iron Man 2, anybody?
What about Batman and Robin?
Well, yeah, that one's going a little bit too far. That one not only makes it as one of the worst superhero movies of all time, but the worst movie of all time.
Daredevil?
I like Daredevil. Daredevil was not horrible, but Daredevil was also not great.
Right.
I was a big fan of Daredevil at the time. I think the movie actually got me off of that. I think the only one who ever got the character right was John Favreau as Foggy. He was probably the only one who actually understood how to be the character. Ben Affleck, like the guy, tried hard. He just couldn't really fit it in, you know.
Yeah.
And the story in general was just all out of whack. The one thing they did is the one thing they always do nowadays. I think we've gotten over this fact. They changed the origin a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, in the original Daredevil, he saves a man's life. In this version, he's running away from his father. And it wasn't a big deal. I think the director was very presumptuous about what would affect us and what we were looking for. But I'm hoping we got past that. Daredevil is one of those that we learned from. We got a lot of things coming up. One of the things I want to talk about is, you know, we're doing a Superman reboot with Christopher Nolan. He's not really directing or writing. I think he's just consulting.
Right.
On the Man of Steel that's coming up here real soon. And I sometimes worry about it because when I see the Man of Steel, I get this impression that, you know, they want to tweak the characters and make them like moody and, you know, give them some like darker elements, which Superman really did not have. Superman was always our, you know, farm boy. Simple.
Yeah, he was brought up. He's the Boy Scout of the DC universe.
Exactly. And I'm really looking forward to it. One thing that you know they're going to do in Man of Steel, which I don't understand, they're going to kill off his father again.
Yeah, well, that seems to be a trend anymore.
They love to kill off Jonathan Kent for some reason. You know, it's so funny. Growing up having Superman in the 80s and 90s, Jonathan Kent was still there. Okay.
Well, he died in the movie. He did die in the Christopher Reeve movie.
Yeah, he did die in the Christopher Reeve movie. He died in the comic. I don't think he ever died in the comic. He died in Smallville.
He died in Smallville, yes. And then he came back at the end of Smallville, but he was like, I think in a vision or something.
Right.
They brought John Snyder back to reprise the role just in like a vision.
Yeah, don't ever, if you want a long life in a comic book movie, don't be Jonathan Kent.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys they love to kill off and bring in, of course. But you know, here's the real question that I want to bring up, and that is, are we getting to the point where we can't do origins anymore? Like, people are tired of the beginning. You know, Superman Begins is coming up. Star Trek with Star Trek Begins. This all happened when Batman came out with Batman Begins.
Yeah, but Batman Begins, we never really had a Batman origin story. I mean, when Michael Keaton brought it out. It was already Batman, so it was kind of good to go back to Batman's origin
But
and see the way he's going through and just the way they do things.
however, remember the first Michael Keaton Batman was still somewhat of the origin of Batman. We missed the training. We missed the experiment. He was Batman, but he was the urban legend Batman. He
Yeah.
didn't want people to know who he really was.
Yeah, well, yeah, I got you on that one.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
it was origin-ish, but it really wasn't about his origin. It was still
Right.
about his mission.
Right.
And I think you know what that finally hit me. That's the one thing I'm starting to get frustrated with when it comes to superhero movies is that you get this notion that they want to always give you the person. They want to give more about the hero and where he came from and how he got there, less about the mission, what he's trying to accomplish. Because they figured, well, you know he's going to succeed, so let's bring up something he can't really overcome by punching it.
Yeah, I guess I can see where you're going with that one. I don't know. I'm trying to process that.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot to absorb. One other thing to absorb is, besides the fact that we're dealing with a person now, they're trying to make him more a person. They're trying to give him more character flaws and stuff. There comes
Yeah.
the second part of superhero movies, which is eventually we're gonna have to get to movies that can't always be solved with a punch. All these problems.
Ugh.
Any nuclear bomb can solve our problems kind of philosophy
What?
is on the way out. They try to do that with Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2, of course, he's always fighting Dr. Octopus,
Right.
but eventually, even though he had beaten Dr. Octopus, he didn't solve the problem.
Yeah.
The sun was still forming.
Right.
And with that sun forming, it was up to Spider-Man to now find a different way of, instead of just, okay, let me beat you some more
Yeah.
to stop him. But I mean, ultimately, the violence, let's be honest, the violence is cool. That's why they have it in there.
Well, yeah.
It's fun to see it in a movie. It's not fun in real life, as a lot of people coming back from war can tell you. But the violence is what we go to see. It's all that special effects and stuff. It's the amazing acrobatics and the moves. But eventually, it won't come down to that. I mean, you can bet with Man of Steel that's coming out here because it's General Zod, not Lex Luthor that he goes up against. This is going to be a fist-to-fist battle.
Well, yeah, it's gonna have to be. Does Zod have his minions with him?
I don't think so. I didn't see anything about them. I just heard about it. Remember, when it comes to movies, as a lot of you guys know, I like to know as little as possible before seeing a movie. That way, I'm like, okay, I see where it's going with this, and I can be surprised. Sometimes I'm pleasantly surprised. Sometimes I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that could work. I don't know. I always found the whole thing with Superman, like Superman 2.
Yes.
Not Lex Luthor. What was it? General Zod. He brought
Yeah.
his minions with him,
Yes.
and it was always like they had the numbers game. I liked that, but Smallville was I liked because Zod made an appearance in Smallville to take on Clark, and it was only him. He didn't have his minions.
And I like that better. I like it better when a hero and a villain meet on equal footing.
Yeah,
I am not a fan of the let's injure the villain, the superhero, or the hero, and then send him into the final battle where he couldn't possibly win because he's hurt.
Yeah.
And we all know he's gonna come out of it. He gets even more damage, but he walks
Right.
out of it eventually.
but it's always good to see a battle, a superhero or metahuman, and their arch nemesis go one-on-one and just get against someone they're matched with, or possibly against someone who's their polar opposite. I mean, it's cool watching like Batman fight someone who can fight, like maybe Lady Shiva or one of his villains. But then it's also kind of cool to watch him go up against the Joker, who Batman's very what's the word I'm looking for? He goes after clues and whatnot.
Right.
Whereas the Joker really has no motivation.
Right.
How do you track someone down and stop him if you don't know what he's doing? Usually by the time Batman stops the Joker, the damage is done.
Or at least exactly, because Joker has no logic. You can't get ahead of somebody when you don't know where they're going.
Yes.
And with Joker, it's really difficult, not impossible, to figure that out. With that being said, though, I have to admit, Christopher Nolan, I didn't really feel did Batman justice when it comes to the Dark Knight series, because I never got the sense that Batman was truly intelligent, like I did from Batman the Animated Series.
Oh yeah,
Batman the Animated Series. I mean, Batman.
that was good.
He was. I mean, he was always one step ahead. He set traps. You know, Batman tricked people. He tricked these bad guys sometimes. And, you know, he was always one step ahead. He was always very intelligent. Batman, of course, made all his own stuff. That's the one problem I did have ultimately with Christopher Nolan's vision.
Right.
Lucius Fox was not a research and developer. Lucius Fox was just the business person who took over Wayne Enterprises. That was his function. Now, he may have done research and development before, but
Right.
Lucius Fox never knew that Batman was Bruce Wayne.
Right. As far as I know, yeah, he didn't know that.
And one thing part about Dark Knight that I did not like, and I knew they threw it in for a little extra anguish and stuff, was Batman at one point didn't cover his tracks well enough, and somebody from inside his organization figured out who he was. You know,
Which one was that?
in the Dark Knight movie, I forget who it is. That one guy who Batman they took him out, and he was just such a minor part of it. Batman wrecked the Lamborghini to save his identity.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that was interesting because he knew
That
it
was
Bruce.
Mr. Reeves. Right.
Yeah, Mr. Reeves, exactly. And Bruce Wayne wrecks his Lamborghini. And you know, this is the one thing that was missing from Dark Knight Rises. The bantering between Michael Caine and Christian Bale, it just wasn't there. In Dark Knight, they had hilarious discussions. You know, it's like, will you be taking the Batmobile then? He goes, in the middle of the day, Alfred, not very subtle.
Yeah, so he takes the Lamborghini, and I think it's a Murcielago, which was a nice bit of continuity, or a little in-joke there, because I believe Murcielago is Italian for bat.
Okay.
So that was really cool.
Right. But of course, Alfred's like, oh yes, you'll be taking your Lamborghini. That's much more subtle. And the best line from the whole series will always be when Bruce Wayne decides that he's going to come forward as Batman, because that's what the Joker wants and everything.
Right.
They close up shop and they start to shut everything down. And as they're walking out at the last time, Christian Bale's like, and Alfred's like, well, then I guess I'll be listed as an accomplice.
Yeah.
And
Bruce Wayne's like, accomplice, I'm going to tell him it's your idea.
Yeah, the whole thing was your idea, Alfred. I love that part. A very good movie, but then again, it just didn't. It didn't connect with the mythos, like the way the comic book does, and the way the TV sort of. And I understand that they wanted to do that because they wanted to bring it more into a real world scenario.
Yeah.
And and give him character flaws and make sure and show you, okay, he didn't do it all. It took a village to create the Batman, but it took away. And that's the one problem I had with this series, ultimately, is that it took away from Batman to give Batman more humanity, which Batman does not have.
Yeah, I read a lot of Batman comics, so I picked up quite a few discrepancies between what I read in the comics and what I saw in the movies. I still thought the Christopher Nolan movies were really good. Dark Knight Rises is not one of my favorites. Batman Begins, I loved it. Mm-hmm. Probably my favorite in the series. And I think the reason for that is we finally got villains that we hadn't seen before.
Right.
We were dealing with Scarecrow. We were dealing with Ra's al Ghul. And they even brought in Zaz, who most people don't realize he was even in there.
Right. Well, he didn't do anything.
Yeah, he was like I think he had 2 minor parts.
Right. Very minor parts. And of course, but the problem with Scarecrow, ultimately, to be a super villain, you have to be undefeatable by everybody except for the superhero. And the fact that Rachel Dawes was able to just zap him kind of took away from it. But no, I mean, I thought they had a great problem. I thought the problem I had with Batman Begins, though, was the ending. Because the Narrows, that area, was still all gassed up. It was still all incredibly.
Well, he says we'll take care of it.
Yeah, we'll take care.
We will bring Gotham back.
Yeah, they were able to bring it, but it would just end with such a huge problem. They left the problem for the moment, saying we'll get back to you. Okay, tell that to all the people that are getting stabbed by all the psychos who are afraid of everything because of the gas, and we'll get back to you. Don't worry, we'll be there. But unfortunately, that's all we have time for. Yeah.
Are we?
But okay, yeah. But so thank you guys for sticking by. We'll be seeing you at the movies.
Take it easy.